We're very upset that I called him. I said, well, who else would I call? He's the leader of the Taliban. He's the one that's killing our people and killing a lot of people. I tell the story, Jesse James, who was a great bank robber, right? Jesse James. I said, Jesse, why do you always rob banks? He said, because that's where the money is. That's where the money is. You stupid person to ask a question like that. I rob banks because that's where the money is. Well, I dealt with the Taliban and the head of the Taliban because that's where the killing was. And we went 18 months after that, not one soldier even shot at. We would have had a withdrawal that would have been very nice, and we would have kept the big air base. You know, we had an air base, one of the biggest in the world, and not because of Afghanistan, but because it's 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons. It would have been nice to keep it called Bagram. And we would have kept that. I was planning to stay there. They gave it up. They ran out. I mean, they took the military out first. Before they took out anything, they didn't take the American citizens, many of whom are still there now. A lot of people don't know that. They cannot be enjoyable right now. They can't get out. But they took the military out first. Then they tried to take the citizens and the military equipment. We left $85 billion worth of equipment behind. Think of it. How stupid are these people? You know, I hate to use that word, but it's just a very accurate word. How stupid are they? How stupid? And they left all that equipment behind. And now Afghanistan is the second or third largest seller of military equipment in the world. They're selling our equipment that we left behind because they don't need anywhere near. They need about 3% of it. 700,000 rifles and guns, 70,000 trucks and cars, many of them armor-plated, costing millions of dollars to build. Airplanes, tanks, goggles, you know, the goggles. They weren't, you know, they're great fighters, but they never fought at night because they couldn't see at night. Now they can fight at night because we left them the best goggles, brand new, never taken out of the box, and better than what we have. Thousands and thousands of goggles. People say, oh, that's not so good. Well, it is. Those are very expensive. Those are treasures. We gave them everything, and what we got is nothing but embarrassment. The most embarrassing moment, in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, and I think that's one of the reasons that Putin said, hey, if these people are so inept to allow a thing like that to happen, let's go and try and take Ukraine right now. And I think it opened the world to some very bad facts. But the truth is, you know, we defeated ISIS 100%. Ben was with me. 100% of the ISIS caliphate. We did it in 4 weeks. You know, we did that in 4 weeks. 4 weeks, and we knocked out 100% of that. And it was an honor to do it. We were told that we couldn't do it for 4 years. It would take 4 years at least and maybe not be able to do it. We did it in 4 weeks. We have unbelievable military. And that was when I went over to Iraq. Do you remember that? I spoke to some incredible people over there. And they said, sir, I think we can do it in 4 weeks. You have time left over. And we had unbelievable, our military is great, but we did things that nobody thought we could do. We would not have an open border where countries are emptying out their prisons and their mental institutions. They say, please don't use this term, sir. Insane asylums. That's Silence of the Lambs, right? Hannibal Lecter. Did anybody ever hear of Hannibal Lecter? The young people didn't. The young ones didn't. They don't want to hear about Hannibal. We don't want, but that's, they said it's a very tough term. I said, well, it's inaccurate. They're emptying out insane asylums. They're emptying out their mental institutions. They're emptying out their prisons and jails. And terrorists are pouring into our country. In record numbers, the terrorists are coming in. You know, they show a graph on one of the networks today that under Trump, 0 in 2019. They're showing 2019, 2020, 2020. 0 terrorists. Think of that. And then the march begins. They go to 2020, 2021, and now it's numbers that we've never even seen before. And what can be good about that? You know, whether you're liberal, conservative, common sense, it doesn't matter. I like to say I'm common sense. They say, what are you? You're very conservative. I say, well, I'm basically common sense. The people in this room are common sense. I say conservative. Somebody would say, oh, he gave up being a conservative. No, I'm conservative. With common sense, we don't want open borders. We want voter ID. We want paper ballots. We want same-day voting. We want schools that work well and can teach your kids how to read and write and arithmetic. We want a strong military. We want low taxes, right? We want low taxes. We want very little regulation. I gave you the greatest tax cut in the history of the country. We gave you the biggest regulation cut. That's why we have the best economy in the history of America. We have the best economy in the history of our country. And we'll do it again. I think we can do it quickly. Look, they really loused it up with energy. Energy was a disaster. We will say the words, drill, baby, drill. We'll be drilling. So those big tractors that you bought that take a little more fuel, you'll be very happy in a very short period of time. But you're going to be very happy. But you did great, and you know, they're just running off the fumes of what we did. I was very disrespectful to Iowa. I'd like to apologize because I go around saying, of course we're going to win Iowa. And my people say, you cannot assume that to this extent. Well, we are, I think we're up by 47 points or something. So we should forget that. But then they said, sir, it would be nice if you didn't say that because you can't just assume, you know, people may get upset. I said, wait a minute. I got Iowa and the farm states, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and those. I got farmers $28 billion from China. I said, there's no way that Iowa is going to get this stuff. There's nothing. You guys were opening up those checks. You say, where the hell did that come from? That came from Trump. I got it from China. Biden's going to get $28 billion from China. China pays Biden directly. Okay? We're just trying to find out how much. Most corrupt president we've ever had by far, and the most incompetent. Most incompetent. I never used to talk to, you know, it's true. You wouldn't say that because I respect the office too much, but now I hit him differently than I would. Because they did something to me that's never been done before. They indicted me because I protested a crooked election. They indicted me. They go after people for years. You notice they never go after people that rigged the election. They go after people that are complaining about the rigging. Did anybody see anybody with all the things and all the facts we have? And you'll be seeing them come out because we never forget. You know, history, you have to remember. History is a very important word. But they indicted me once, twice, 3, 4. I think they stopped. I heard they were going to do a couple of more, but they said, don't do any more because my poll numbers have shot up. Did anybody ever hear, he's a very nice fellow, Al Capone. Did you ever hear of him? Scarface. He had a scar that went from here to here. And he didn't get that scar by playing tiddlywinks, right? Alphonse Capone. If you smiled at him in the wrong way, he'd kill you. He was only indicted one time. I got 4. I wonder if my father and mother are proud of me. Over nonsense, over stuff. It's incredible. Over stuff. Think of it. Over fighting an election. 2016 election, almost every congressman, Democrat, said, you're wrong. They made up the Russia thing. Nothing happened to them. They did things that were so bad, so illegal, nothing happens. When you look at what's going on in this country, we have 2 tiers of justice, and we're going to have it turned around very fast. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen like that. You know, they go after Christians. And I know you have fewer Catholics in this room than you would normally have in a lot of other states, but how about the Catholics? They're going after the Catholics like, what's going on with the Catholics? And they go after parents because they want their school boards to do a better job, and they go after parents. Parental. Can you imagine? I'm defending parental approvals now. We want parental approvals of superintendents in schools, and we want our schools to work. And they go after those people. They don't go after the people that cause the problems and cause the corruption. So it's crazy, but we're going to have it straightened out fast. For 4 straight years under the Trump administration, I kept America safe, I kept Israel safe, and I kept the world safe. There was none of this stuff going on. Seriously, you go back 3 years, our country is not recognizable now. It's not even recognizable. You look at what's happened. Bacon has gone up 5 times in like a year and a quarter. 5 times. I saw that this morning. Bacon. What's going on with bacon? Come on, let's get going. But it's gone up. Bacon. I think I'm not going to order bacon anymore for a little while. We'll get it back down. But bacon has gone up so much, but food has gone up so much. Everything has gone up. Inflation has been a killer. You know, inflation's called a country buster because you can go back 200 years, 300 years. Countries that have gone out of business, Ben, have been anybody that had inflation. Germany, years ago, inflation, it destroyed the country. And we have it worse than most of these countries. And then they say it's coming down to 4 or 5%, but they don't talk about the fact that you're up here. We got to get the prices back down. We got to get it back down. We're going to be able, and it starts to a large extent with energy. It starts, you know, when your fuel comes down, other things happen. But now it's gotten so all pervasive with the food, and I mean, everything is now hugely, what's happened with inflation, hugely higher. But all over the planet, our enemies knew that one thing with us, that if you try to kill our citizens, we will kill you. We will kill you. And I hate to say that in front of the 100 great pastors and faith leaders and everybody that endorse it. We have so many great people. But that's the way we're going to keep our country safe. Faith leaders, I think they agree because they're smart and they understand. And we have to have, thank you, I have one of the 100 that definitely. So there they are. There you go. But now we have to keep our country safe. And we do it not because we want to start wars. We do it because we want to stop wars. We want to prevent wars from happening. Remember Hillary? She said, he'll cause a war. He'll cause a war. Don't look at him. The way he talks, he'll cause a war. I say, no, the way I talk, I'll stop wars. I'm the only president in 72 years that didn't start a war. But we finished wars. We finished ISIS and a lot of others. We got out of Syria. We got out of Iraq. Remember, I used to say a long time ago, before I did this stuff, before I was a politician, I hate to say that. I can't imagine myself being a politician. It's cost me a couple of $1 billion to be a politician. Everyone else makes, they make. I said, no, we can't do that. I could have made a fortune. The countries are coming. We'd like to build a job and we'd like to have you involved. Billions, I say. I'm telling my kids, sorry kids, we can't do it. I'm president. I respected the office. And then I get out and I see the stuff that Biden's been doing and I say, well, I did it the right way. You know, the money. And my kids said, Dad, could we build a job here or there or in the Middle East? Certain countries, they got a lot of money and they'd love to build a nice Trump job. No, kids, you can't do that. It's a conflict. I didn't do that. So I was willing. And of course, then they made it much worse with legal fees. I have $100 million worth of legal fees, and they're doing good. At least I have good lawyers. If you can spend $100 million, have lousy lawyers too. That happens. No, I said right from the beginning. I told Ben and Candy a long time ago. I said, you know, it's incredible. As soon as you win, they start coming to you about they want to do this. And I told my kids, you can't do that. Can't do that. Too much respect for the office, and. I told you, I had too much respect for the office to hit Joe Biden, where I say he's the most incompetent president, most corrupt president, the worst president we've ever had. There's a couple words, and I would never have done that until they did something that's never been done. They indicted a former president. They never do that. And the only reason they indicted me is that we're leading him in the polls, we're killing them. How about I have one judge in Washington, D.C., who put my trial date the day before Super Tuesday. Okay? And it's a trial based on nothing. And they say, the day before Super Tuesday, I have a trial. But that wasn't political, was it? They could have put it anywhere for years and years. They decided to put, because, this stuff could have been brought years ago. They just did this after I announced I'm running. I announced I'm running, all of a sudden I get, if I weren't running, or if I was in 4th or 5th place, or, like a lot of people, none of this would happen. But when you're leading, these are cheaters. That's a form of cheating. It's a big form. And it's only used in third world countries, banana republics. They do it, I said, has this ever been done before? Not in our country, but it has been done a lot in third world countries. And sometimes they call them banana republics. But they brought our country to a new level. But that allows, think of this, that allows us to do it to Biden. Yes. When he gets out. And but I don't want to do, once you do that, you've set yourself on a very downward, very bad path. Very bad path. But a thing like this has never happened before. And it is true, I heard 2 more were coming, and they said, don't do it, no, this is killing us. They didn't want to do it. Because every time I go up 7 points, 8 points, right? They did the shirt, right? The mugshot. That shirt is selling like millions and millions of shirts. And they only took one. They said, did you pose for that? How many times? It was only one. They don't want to waste a lot of. There's no kidding, sir. He was very good, Sheriff. Georgia. Very good. He said, sir, you're ready? Yeah. And I said, wait a minute, and then, one shot. It wasn't like I had a choice of 15 to choose from. There it is. There it is. There it is. To every American who is petrified that Joe Biden's catastrophic weakness will bring our country to ruin, I make you this promise. As your president, I will restore peace through strength. And yes, I will prevent World War III. We are very close to World War III. I know the players, I know the good ones, the bad ones, the weak ones. There's a very powerful player, Viktor Orban. Did anybody ever hear of Viktor Orban? He's the head of Hungary. Hungary fronts on both Ukraine and Russia. And they went to him about 2 weeks ago, and they said, what would you recommend? He's interviewed, a very powerful man. His country runs incredibly well. He doesn't allow illegals into his country. He put barbed wire fences all over. He has soldiers every 10 yards. He's got a soldier. Nobody came in. And he said he doesn't want his country blown up or destroyed. But he's a very smart, very respected person, very tough guy. They said, what would you do? I would like to know, this is during an interview, what would you do to tell President Biden, what can he do to make things better because the whole world is blowing up? He said, I tell him to do 2 things. Number 1 is resign, and number 2 is put Trump in charge again because I was with a group yesterday, a great group in Nevada, and we had a fantastic evening, actually. A very religious group also, very religious people, great people. And we were talking about different things, and I said to them, our security was so incredible. I have the Trump ban, the Trump travel ban. Everybody killed me on that, the Trump travel ban. Because it sounds a little nasty, but no, I don't want people coming in from certain countries where it's so bad and they're blowing each other up and they're killing each other and they want to now come and they want to teach us how their country runs. We don't need that. We don't want to be taught. So we had the Trump travel ban. But I said, the one thing that's nice about not being in, I never talked about the fact that we had no trouble with terrorism for 4 years. Think of it. We didn't have buildings knocked down. We didn't have the World Trade Center. We didn't have any of it. We didn't have anything. And look what happened after I get out. But we had nothing happening, and we had we were very tough on letting people into our country. We had the strongest border in history. We built 500 miles of wall, which was nobody's ever seen. Like another 200, and they couldn't put it up in 3 weeks, and they decided to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, if you can believe it. But we never had a problem, and I couldn't say it when I was there because I don't want to be there, Ben, and say, we've never had a problem, and the following day we have a problem. That doesn't work. But now, the 4 years is up, and I said we didn't have a problem. That's because we ran it tough and we ran it smart, and people could come into our country, but they had to come in legally. We had the lowest numbers of illegals coming into our country in history. And we'll get that back again. You know, all Biden had to do is go to the beach like he does all the time anyway. If he went to the beach, you know, he's got a consultant, and the consultant somehow thinks he looks good on the beach. I don't think so. He can barely lift the chair. You know that chair, they weigh about 6 ounces, right? They're meant for old people that have lost a lot of strength. No, that chair weighs, it's very, very light. See that beautiful young person right there, right next to our Attorney General? Could lift that chair with no problem. You know that? You could lift it, but he has a problem. You ever see him? He's dragging the chair. And he can't get the feet through the sand, and he's at the beach. Well, if he did that, instead of stopping everything we had, stay in Mexico, remember, remain in Mexico. You had to remain. You think that was easy to get from Mexico? No. All of the different things that we had. I went to Mexico, I said, we need 28,000 soldiers free of charge. They laughed at me, they said, you have to be kidding. I said, no, we want 28,000 soldiers because you're sending people up through these caravans, a name we came up with, we're good at names. We came up with, and thousands of people were in these caravans. I said, nope, we want soldiers, and they laughed and they said, we're not gonna give it. And a woman at the State Department, very good, she was there for 20, 25 years, she said, sir, we've been asking for things like this for years, they're not gonna give it. I said, yes, they will, 100%. And so I dealt with the head of one of the top guys at Mexico, a good guy, handsome, tall, strong guy. I said, listen, we're gonna need 28,000 soldiers. We wanna have a remain in Mexico policy so everyone remains in Mexico. They don't come into our country anymore. On catch and release, we wanna release them, but we're gonna release them in your country, not in our country. And the medical, as you know, title, we're gonna leave that the way it is. We have one title. We wanna make sure that people that have infectious diseases and all the problems that they have. We don't want them in our country right now, I'm sorry. We don't want to be mean, but we don't want them in our country. We can't do that, sir. I said, yes, you will, you'll do it. He said, no, we won't. I said, how much you want to bet you'll do it? I'm talking to the guy. He said, sir, we won't be able to. 28,000 soldiers free of charge. I'm not going to pay for the soldiers. He said, we won't do it. I said, okay, ready? Here's the story. I have before me a piece of paper. I'm going to sign that paper. And when I sign it, that means on Monday, this was a Friday evening, on Monday morning at 7 o'clock, every single car, you know, they stole 32% of our car industry, intelligently stole it. I gotta hand it to him. I really like the president of Mexico, by the way, I do like him. He's a socialist, but as I say, can't have everything. But he's great, he's a great guy, actually, great guy. And I said, you gotta sign this because what we're going to do is on Monday morning at 7, Ben Carson was with me. Monday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, every single car and every single product that comes into the United States from Mexico, which is massive, is going to be taxed at 25%. And some people would call it a tariff. But it's going to be taxed or tariff, call it whatever you want. It means very similar things. We don't have to go into the little tiny differences. We're going to tax you / tariff you at 25%. Sir, I'd like to make a phone call. So I said, good, please make it quick. Calls up the president, comes back. Sir, it would be a great honor to provide you with 28,000 soldiers. I said, free of charge. So with all those losers out there that say, Trump never got the, you remember I used to say Mexico will pay for the peace of the wall. I'll say, what's going to happen with that fight? I said the wall gets higher. We all had a lot of fun, but I said Mexico will pay for a piece of the wall. Well, there was no legal instrument to do that, but I got much more money. because I got them to pay for 28,000 soldiers that guarded our border for years, and our numbers are the best numbers in the history of our country. And honestly, they were great, but you know, they say you can't do this, you can't do that. It was sort of a funny, because here's this guy that I'm negotiating, says, we'll never do that. I says, yes, you will, 100% to 100%. He's looking at me like, is something wrong with this guy? He says, then 5 minutes later, he said, we would be honored. We would be honored to allow you. We have many things like that. We had the same thing in France. You know why we could go a little longer today? Because it's a Sunday. We're allowed to do this. God said we can take some extra time because it's Sunday. The football games aren't any good today. Right? Well, good. But you know, in France, I love to go off the teleprompter because it's so much more interesting. Plus, you never know what's going to come out, so you say, with a teleprompter, you can't make a mistake. The only one that can't do a teleprompter is Biden. He can't read the teleprompter, he can't do anything. But in France, the same thing. They were going to tax American companies very substantially. I went to Secretary of Commerce, and I went to different people, Treasury, went to a lot of people, said, no, you call them up, tell them we're not going to do that. We're not going to allow that to happen. They're not going to tax our companies. They said, yes, they are. They're going to do it, sir. I said, well, you give them 1 week's notice. They're not going to. They came back. They said, no, they're going to do it. I call up Emmanuel Macron. Has anyone ever heard? He's the head of France. He's a good guy, but he's for France. You know, he's for France. He says, make France great again. I say, make America great again. You know, it's very simple. He's for France first. I'm for America first. It's very simple. So I call him up. I say, Emmanuel, I understand you're going to tax a couple. Oh, yes, Donald. Oh, yes, we will be doing it. The legislation is passed. I'll be signing. I said, do you think it's fair that you're taxing American companies but not other companies? No, Donald, no. Yes, will be something. He said, you're not going to do it. No, but we have to. It's too late. The legislation has passed. I will be signing it very shortly. I said, here's the story, Emmanuel. If you do that, every bottle of wine and champagne that's shipped in from France to the United States of America is going to have a 100% tariff placed on it. And he says, no, that would not be fair. I said, oh, well, it's not fair for you to tax our companies because, you know, I got to protect our companies. It's not fair. He said, may I call you back in 5 minutes? I said, please. He calls me back in 3 minutes. Donald, we've decided to get rid of that tax. That was the end of that. That was the end of that. No tax. Let me give you the bad news. Biden's going to allow it to happen. That's the bad news. But don't worry, in a year I'll get it off again. They don't even know it's happening. They don't know what's going on. Our country's being sold down the tubes. As I proposed long before Ron DeSanctimonious tried to steal the idea and pass it on as his own, I will cancel the student visas of terrorist sympathizers on college campuses. You know, Ron DeSanctimonious, first of all, is getting absolutely clobbered in the polls. And in your state, I think he's now number 3. He's like, you know the expression, I said, he's like a wounded bird falling from the sky. Well, there he is, it's Ron DeSanctimonious. He's falling beautifully from the sky. It's a beautiful thing to watch because I got him elected. And when you get somebody elected, they don't go like our great Attorney General. She I didn't get her elected. She was wonderful, I endorsed her, I helped her, but she would have done well. I think she would have done well, and I think she would have won. And many people I endorse it. Ron was dead. He had no chance. He was down real low. And he came to me, tears in his eyes, that he needed help because he was running against the man, the secretary, which is a very big thing in Florida. They like me too for this reason, but very big thing, Secretary of Agriculture. Adam Putnam is his name. You think Biden could remember all the stuff that I remember? I don't think so. Let's see, what the hell was his name? He wouldn't tell the story because he wouldn't know to tell the story. But Adam Putnam. And Adam Putnam had like a 40-point lead or something. The election was fairly soon. And this was the primary. And I said, you know, Ron, here's the problem. If George Washington and Abraham Lincoln came back from the dead and they decided to endorse you, I don't think it would help you so far. You're gone. No, they love you in Florida. They love you. If you endorse me, I think I could win. I said, well, let's give it a shot. You know why? Because with the impeachment hoax #1 and impeachment hoax #2, he was one of 150 different congressmen who actually said something nice. He was no Jim Jordan. He was no Mike Johnson, who's going to be great, by the way. They didn't want to get on television to get a little name recognition, so he got up. And I said, let's give it a shot. I endorsed him. He went like a rocket ship. He went like a rocket ship. So he was going to lose by a lot, and he ended up winning. And then we got him past the crackhead. You remember the crackhead? But he wasn't a crackhead. He was supposed to be the hottest politician in the entire party. He was a handsome guy. He was going to run, and Ron said, I can't win. I don't think I can win against this guy. And I said, yes, you're going to win. I did 2 or 3 rallies for him. I remember big, beautiful rallies. Thousands of people. Ben Carson came to 1 or 2 of them. And we ended up having incredible, and I said, you're going to win. He said, I don't think so, and he ended up winning. And then 4 years later, they said, Mr. Governor, will you run against the president? And he said, I have no comment. No comment means he's going to run, right? Doesn't that mean that? You know, like this group. It's a smart group of people that I know. You know, these are the front row Joes, right? Aren't you? These guys, these are incredible people. They've seen so many. They usually go to the rallies. You know, we'll be doing the rallies when the weather gets a little warmer. And it's even a little bit early, but we'll be doing the rallies. Actually, you know, honestly, when you're like 60 points up, what the hell do we have to do a rally for? Let's just keep chugging along, right? But thank you very much. I've been to like 70 of them. How many have you been to? How many have you been to? Yeah. 68? 42? Wow. That's great. Well, we appreciate it. Front row Joe's. So I hit him very hard. They said, don't hit him, sir. He's a Republican. I said, so what? I don't care if he's a Republican. The guy's going to run against me. Can you believe we hit him hard? And by the time he got to it, and I actually think he's very seriously wounded for 28 also, but he's gone down. Remember one thing, if you run for politics, you got to have a little personality too. You got to have a little personality. And he was, just so we can say, because we're in this territory, he was totally against ethanol, totally. He was viciously against it. And I heard last week he came out in favor of ethanol. One thing about a politician, if they're against something, and then they come out because they're in the middle of an election, they always go to where they first came from. That means if he's against ethanol, that means he's against ethanol. He will kill ethanol, there's no question about it. But we're beating him really badly, and we have a few people that, I don't know, they're not doing well. I don't want to speak badly about everybody because they're not doing well. Just speak badly about the one that's second, but I think he's going to be third from what I understand pretty soon. To all of the resident aliens who joined in the pro-jihadist protests all over this country, all over the world, this month, come 2025, you will find that we will deport you because these are people that are we're supposed to take care of them.